These are the faces of West Papua. Their traditions astonishingly akin to Māori. There are people not too far from our shores surviving crimes against humanity.
Every week, I receive reports about people being beaten, about girls being sexually abused.
They harass them, they violate them, and they kill them. Yeah?
And for more than 50 years, people in West Papua have been fighting for their tino rangatiratanga, their whenua, which has the largest gold mine in the world.
Papua is a tiny nation, but tiny doesn't mean that they do not have to be respected. Tiny does not mean that we can keep on letting this tiny nation to disappear while we are taking out their gold, their trees, their lands, their gas, their oil, everything out of them. So I think it is just human for all of us, including people in New Zealand, to pay attention to what's happening just north of Australia.
West Papua is located on the island of New Guinea, divided down the centre. To the east is Papua New Guinea, which is an independent sovereign state. To the west lies West Papua, population 4 million, ruled by Indonesia since 1969.
The biggest political problem for West Papuan people is we are different. We are Melanesian. We are not Malay, we are not Indonesian. So we are different, then we will fight for that.
For nearly 50 years, the province has largely been a no-go zone for foreign journalists. But this year, its newly elected president declared his wish to open up the region. Last month, Native Affairs was granted permission to film in the province. We're the first New Zealand television crew to have been allowed in. We wanted to meet the people, see their customs, traditional hangi feasts. In the Highlands, kumara is king. We entered through Jayapura, the capital. It looks like business as usual. But beneath the surface, memories and stories run deep.
Jayapura is very safe, but you know when during 2010 till 2013 is many shot happened in Jayapura, even in the front of the police office. Many shot happened and some people killed by unknown person. They never catch who was shot the people.
On this very street 3 years ago, police shot dead an independence leader. The official police report says he was resisting arrest. Papuans took to the streets in frustration.
Why in Papua the police are more trigger happy than in other places in Indonesia? Because of impunity. Because it's so easy for the police, the soldiers, to pull the trigger without being investigated, prosecuted, moreover, to be charged.
Much of the conflict stems from the very idea of independence from Indonesia. In 2011, this gathering of the Third Papuan People's Conference quickly escalated from cheers to chaos after one of the leaders declared West Papua a free state. As far as the law is concerned, this was an illegal gathering.
Saya punya perasaan takut ketika merekam itu dari atas. Saya lari dengan kamera dan semua kartu memori, kemudian lari bersembunyi di sebuah biara Katolik. Itu pengalaman yang membuat saya masih trauma sampai saat ini.
Papuan filmmaker FX Making was at the conference. He says there was no indication that things would turn so violent so quickly. 3 people were killed, dozens more left with severe injuries.
Saya pertama kali, saya memang merasakan gemetar pada saat itu. Kemudian saya juga berpikir, kalau video ini, hasil-hasil ini, hari semua ini dibawa, pasti teman-teman saya juga celaka karena ada beberapa teman-teman saya yang saya lihat mukanya ada di situ dan sayang sekali kalau mereka mendapatkan harddisk itu.
With that in mind, FX is taking a risk in talking to us on camera.
Beberapa kali
And while this encounter took place 5 years ago, he believes it could still happen today.
tidak ada perubahan. Dengan pemerintahan Jokowi juga saya kira tidak ada perubahan. Tahun 2015 ini berapa kasus orang Papua yang mati dibunuh? Berapa orang Papua yang disiksa? Berapa orang Papua yang ditangkap karena demonstrasi? Saya kira nanti bisa dianalisa sendiri. Dan saya kira ini masih sampai bulan Agustus ini saja sudah ada berapa kasus yang terjadi dan tidak ada jalan keluarnya, tidak ada solusinya, pelakunya pun juga tidak dihukum. Saya kira belum ada perubahan.
Every week, I receive report about people being beaten, about girls being sexually abused.
Andreas Asano from Human Rights Watch has been working in West Papua for nearly 2 decades. He says human rights abuses occurring in the region are undeniable.
It is basically racism. Many Indonesian officials consider Papuan either as ignorant, primitive, lack of education, or stupid, or cannot be trusted. That kind of mindset is the one which drive this kind of discrimination against Papua.
The provincial government, however, strongly refutes the allegations of widespread human rights abuse.
Saya kira itu kalau itu yang tidak benar. Ya, persoalan sekarang semua persoalan ini yang ada di negeri Indonesia ini ya semua persoalan harus diungkap dengan jujur. Bahwa misalnya ada kerusuhan, ada penembakan misalnya di Sumatera atau di Sulawesi ataupun di Papua, ya semua ini harus diungkap. Semua persoalan harus diungkap supaya secara terbuka ini siapa yang menjadi pelakunya. Jadi sebetulnya kalau semua ini kita bekerja dengan baik, dengan jujur, pasti semuanya baik.
Shedding light on the troubles in the region is difficult for local media. Journalist Victor Mambor, who runs the local publication tabloid Jubi, says getting the truth out can be difficult and dangerous.
We have a bad relationship with the military, police, and government. It's hard. It's very, very hard to working here. We need to consider also about our safety. They pointed a gun, a weapon, to me with my wife and the cars. And some night they can call me, the police and military. So it's very hard and very dangerous.
While we are here, news breaks that 2 more Papuans have been shot dead by the military. We want to find what stories we can, but people are scared to talk to us openly about anything sensitive. As only last year, a Papuan man was locked up for 9 months. His crime? Talking to foreign journalists who had no visas. It's hard to avoid the visible presence of the military. And as we film on the street, we're being watched. These men playing cards, I'm later told, are intelligence officers. And while it looks and feels like the Pacific, it's clear colonisation has taken a firm hold. While Jayapura is the capital city and gateway to West Papua, the face of this place is still very Indonesian. The population here is over 300,000, but only a third of that is made up of indigenous Papuans.
Every week more than 1,000 people come to West Papua. They own all of the economic activities they're running all of the economic activities in West Papua. So it's like a big gap between indigenous Papuan and Indonesian people there.
With the election of a new president, there is hope for change. The fact that we're allowed to be here at all is a good sign. The Indonesian government says it's spending billions of dollars in the province trying to make lives better for all who live here.
Today is better than before because Indonesian president, new Indonesian president, they make something new like access for foreign journalists, and they release the political prisoner from the prison. But we doesn't know what happened with tomorrow because the leaders will change.
But what will that change mean for everyday Papuans? With so much attention focused on human rights abuses and the environmental exploitation of West Papua, it's not often we get to see or hear from everyday Papuans. We've travelled to the highlands, to a town called Wamena, the gateway to the Balian Valley and the remote tribes of West Papua. Instantly we notice a greater presence of Indigenous Papuans going about their daily lives. We've come here to visit a New Zealand aid project that's focused on the revival and commercial growth of kumara, known here as ubi jala. It's sustained highland tribes here for thousands of years.
Ubi jalar ini sangat penting dari sejak dahulu nenek moyang kita sampai sekarang, sangat penting bagi masyarakat pegunungan Tengah Papua. Karena ubi jalar dimanfaatkan untuk pangan dan pakan. Selain itu, ubi jalar memiliki beberapa nilai, yaitu yang pertama adalah nilai gizi. Ubi jalar juga mempunyai nilai budaya, karena semua pendidikan dari anak-anak kecil, semua orang dewasa itu terjadi di kebun. Bapak-bapak mengajarkan segala sesuatu untuk kehidupan ini, untuk keteraturan hidup, tingkah laku, moral, bahkan pendidikan ke depan itu diajarkan di kebun.
Kilana Wenda is the program manager for Yapam, an NGO dedicated to helping Papuans improve their farming methods and create an income from their crops. The gardens are their marae, the wānanga where knowledge is sown for generations. But Kilana says with colonisation has come rice and the decline of ubi jala.
Ketika kami di sekolah, guru-guru kami mengajarkan bahwa kalau kamu makan ubi itu jadi bodoh. Akhirnya, kita mau makan ubi ragu-ragu. Kalau kita makan ubi terus jadi bodoh, jadi harus kita cari nasi. Bahkan setiap orang tua yang di kampung, mereka tahu bahwa kalau kita makan ubi jadi bodoh, akhirnya mereka harus berusaha walaupun tidak punya pendapatan, harus beli nasi untuk beri makan anaknya, supaya anaknya di sekolah bisa pintar, seperti itu. Dengan adanya bantuan beras, ini kebanyakan masyarakat makan nasi dan orang tidak mau bikin kebun lagi dan ubi semakin dipinggirkan.
But not all have given up on their traditional way of life. Kilana takes us to a village an hour's drive from Wamena, so we can see how their project works and witness the cultural significance of ubi jala, kumara. On arrival, we're greeted by this traditional Dani welcome. An important part of their tradition, as throughout the Pacific, kai is central to the welcoming of guests.
Niret nako wisugunu una begeb obokara kemarin obok siap barare kuma. Romo dion date kini be wa si ngiri kebiara. Ngiri ma susuna biluk batu susu kayu susuna robodi. Ye ngidul ko. Ngidul lobo si yon date indu bo mang git la ko regiara. Na yon da kan tinga diluk o ngabi ako yi. Yiwem ba mandalugun. Dal diluk ngiri yuguli suguru kal musa biluk edom da ko yi sugun. Yon date amde ha suneki.
Ni numbi alomino nawe lomno ti ni numbi bagare ni adat ni di metik kaya anjare mengora me joko bar la kolon oti jugum joko bai kolon oti ni numbi joko bar nda kolon nu joko bar la kolon e kono oti joko bar ngom ngora me ni numbi ngala la wona tare men yiwe wala kolon me ti na gunare ro ti joko bar la kolon ngora me la kolon jare.
While the hangi or lago cooks, the villagers take us to see their Ubijala garden. Part of Kilina's mission has been to get families to work together and pool their resources. 13 families work this land. Before the Yapam project, we're told most families did their own thing, growing mostly for subsistence living. Now families here have a steady stream of income to support their families.
Berkati nuga beare go ne gundi go ko tiga buni bagare go pinangem gara me tinuga wi no rap ngen bangolo rap ka tini nal ngen ambigare gam gara ni nam biya wi ko lota beare ni nam biye be anda ko lo no tini nal ngen ambi kare kem gara.
Sebelumnya tidak ada. Hampir meninggalkan tadi karena ini tidak bermanfaat. Tadi saya sudah katakan bahwa ini membuat orang bodoh. Jadi ini sudah ada nasi, jadi tidak perlu kerja.
To help increase profits for villagers, Yapam works with growers to stagger their harvests to keep the market from being flooded, ensuring a steady stream of income for all. 20 collection points like this have been set up throughout the area, so families can weigh their ubijala, kumara, and sell it directly to Yapam here in the village, cutting out expensive transport costs. The closest market is an hour from here by car. No one here owns a vehicle. In 2009, the project started with just 55 families. Now, with the help of New Zealand Aid, there are 11,000 families involved. Kilina says it was his visit to Aotearoa that gave him the motivation to help his people here.
Kami banyak belajar tentang orang Maori, bagaimana mereka mengatur kehidupan mereka, terus ubi mereka, tanah mereka, itu terus kekayaan mereka dilindungi, membagi lahan sesuai, terus kemudian hak-hak mereka terpenuhi. Jadi dengan adanya pertukaran budaya Maori dengan mungkin daerah Balim ini, kita bisa artinya memetik manfaat dari itu. Ketika saya melihat di sana, datang di sini tambah semangat.
While things are good for now in this village, life here has its challenges. There's no power, no running water, and no real access to healthcare. They eat once a day to preserve food, and some here worry about the future and the influence that Indonesia has on their way of life.
Yara nene nget lu khata sigin ka khoro ma ke yara la suwalo yara nene nana ku khata nan kimpiri were khalo nit ni lu do saya iso nan nit masyarakat biasa ji nit ya bu ji ni ki ba ma ni ne be sehara do sa kimpiri were khalo sehat. Nina be elege ndak lako. Nina buri ndak lako. Nina ko piara kat lako. Exodosa. Impiri tek man nir waminom. Nina mbita be nina buri nom, nina be nom. Me ya watlasa. Nidi bakara be lawo.